When single dad Marcus found a bleeding woman and her horse hiding in his barn during a storm, he thought he was just helping a stranger. He didn't know she was married to his worst enemy, the man trying to steal his farm. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain hammered against the barn roof like angry fists as Marcus Thompson pulled his jacket tighter around his shoulders. At 35, he had seen enough storms to know this one would last through the night. His 8-year-old daughter Emma was safe inside their farmhouse, probably reading one of her fairy tale books by the fireplace. Marcus had bought this farm 3 years ago, after his wife Sarah died in a car accident. The doctor said she felt no pain, but Marcus carried enough pain for both of them. Moving to the countryside was supposed to heal their broken hearts, give Emma a fresh start away from the memories that haunted every corner of their old house. As he checked the barn one final time before heading inside, Marcus froze. There, in the far corner on a pile of hay, lay a woman. Her long dark hair was matted with blood, her clothes torn and dirty. Beside her, a beautiful black horse stood guard, its eyes alert despite the exhaustion that showed in every line of its body. "Hey," Marcus called softly, not wanting to startle them. "Are you okay?" The woman's eyes fluttered open. Even in the dim light, Marcus could see they were the most striking green he had ever seen. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. "Don't call the police. I can't. I won't go back." Something in her voice made Marcus's chest tighten. He recognized that tone, the same desperate fear he had heard in his own voice after Sarah's funeral when well-meaning relatives suggested Emma might be better off with her grandmother. "I'm Marcus," he said, kneeling down but keeping his distance. "This is my barn. You're hurt." "I'm Luna," she replied, her hand reaching instinctively for her horse's leg. "This is Shadow. We were running." "From what?" Luna's eyes filled with tears. "From my husband." Those 3 words hung in the air like a confession. Marcus had seen enough news stories to understand. He looked at the bruises on her arms, the way she flinched when he moved too quickly, the terror that lived behind her beautiful eyes. "Stay here tonight," he said finally. "In the morning we'll figure something out." But Luna shook her head. "You don't understand. If he finds me here, he'll hurt you too. Richard Blackwood doesn't forgive anyone who helps me." The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Richard Blackwood, the same man who owned the construction company that had been pressuring Marcus to sell his farm for months. The same man whose lawyers had been sending threatening letters about eminent domain and development opportunities. The same man who had made it clear that Marcus's small farm was standing in the way of a multi-million-dollar resort project. "Blackwood is your husband?" Marcus asked, his voice tight. Luna nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. "I've been trying to leave him for 2 years. Every time I try, he finds me. He has connections everywhere, police, private investigators, judges. He always brings me back." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, but not at Luna. At Blackwood, who had been making his life miserable for months, and now he discovered the man was also terrorizing this broken woman. "What happened tonight?" Marcus asked gently. Luna's voice shook as she spoke. "He came home drunk again. Started hitting me because dinner was cold. I fought back this time, scratched his face pretty badly. When he passed out, I took Shadow and ran. I've been riding for hours in the storm. Shadow is exhausted and I think I might have a concussion." Marcus made his decision. "You're staying. Both of you. And I'm going to help you disappear for good." "You don't know what you're saying," Luna protested. "Richard will destroy you. He destroys everyone who crosses him." "Let me worry about Richard Blackwood," Marcus said firmly. "Right now you need medical attention and a safe place to heal." Over the next 3 days, Marcus and Luna developed an unexpected bond. She was intelligent, kind, and had a way with Emma that reminded him painfully of Sarah. Luna had been a veterinarian before she married Blackwood, but he had forced her to quit, isolating her from friends and career until she had nothing left but him. Emma adored Luna immediately. "She's like a princess in my stories," Emma told her father one evening. "The kind who saves herself." But their peaceful bubble couldn't last forever. On the 4th morning, Marcus woke to find 3 black SUVs parked in his driveway. Richard Blackwood himself stood on the front porch, flanked by 2 men who looked more like bodyguards than business associates. Blackwood was exactly what Marcus had expected: tall, expensive suit, cold eyes, and a fresh set of scratches on his left cheek. But what Marcus hadn't expected was the badge one of his companions flashed. "Marcus Thompson," Blackwood said with a smile that never reached his eyes. I believe you have something that belongs to me. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus replied, though his heart was racing. My wife Luna. And my horse. They were stolen from my property 4 nights ago. Detective Harrison here has a warrant to search your premises. Marcus looked at the warrant. It was real and it was thorough. They could search everywhere, the house, the barn, the entire property. Luna came here injured and afraid, Marcus said carefully. If she's your wife, maybe you should be asking yourself why she'd rather sleep in a stranger's barn than in her own home. Blackwood's smile turned dangerous. Careful, Thompson. You're already in enough trouble. Harboring a fugitive, theft of valuable livestock, interfering with a police investigation. That's serious prison time. But Marcus wasn't backing down. Funny thing about that horse. Luna showed me the registration papers. Shadow belongs to her, bought and paid for before your marriage. So the only theft here is you trying to steal what's rightfully hers. The detective shifted uncomfortably. Sir, if you could just tell us where they are. I can't tell you where someone is if I don't know where they are, Marcus said truthfully. Because he didn't know, not exactly. Luna and Shadow had left before dawn, following the escape plan they had worked out together. By now, they should be at the bus station 3 towns over, with new identification papers Marcus had helped her obtain and enough money to start fresh somewhere Blackwood would never find her. Blackwood stepped closer. You think you're clever, don't you? But this isn't over. I'll be back with more warrants, more pressure. I'll make your life so miserable you'll beg me to take this pathetic farm off your hands. Maybe, Marcus said quietly. But at least I'll sleep well at night knowing I did the right thing. After they left, Marcus thought he had won. Luna was free, Blackwood was furious but empty-handed, and life could return to normal. He was wrong. The attack started small. Code violations that required expensive fixes. Sudden tax audits. Insurance claims mysteriously denied. Emma's school suddenly decided her tuition was past due, despite Marcus's records showing current payments. Then things escalated. Marcus's truck tires were slashed. Windows in the barn were broken. Someone cut his fence, letting his cattle wander onto the highway. When he called the police, they took reports but never seemed to find any evidence. 3 weeks after Luna disappeared, Marcus was ready to give up. He was nearly broke from all the unexpected expenses, and Emma was asking why bad things kept happening to them. That's when the letter arrived. It wasn't from Luna, it was from a law firm in Chicago. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note that made Marcus's hands tremble. Mr. Thompson, Luna Blackwood has retained our services to file for divorce from Richard Blackwood. As part of our investigation, we've uncovered evidence of numerous illegal activities Mr. Blackwood has used to pressure local landowners. The enclosed check is partial compensation for damages you've suffered. A federal investigation has been opened. Thank you for your courage. Morrison and Associates. 2 days later, FBI agents arrested Richard Blackwood on charges of racketeering, bribery, domestic violence, and fraud. Turns out Luna had been secretly documenting his crimes for months before she escaped, gathering evidence that would put him away for decades. But the real surprise came a month later. Marcus was repairing the barn door when he heard familiar hoofbeats. He looked up to see Shadow trotting up the driveway, and his heart nearly stopped when he saw Luna riding bareback, her dark hair flowing in the wind. She looked different, healthier, stronger, free. The fear was gone from her eyes, replaced by something that made Marcus's chest tight with hope. I heard you could use a good veterinarian around here, she said with a smile that lit up her entire face. Luna, he breathed. I thought, after everything with Blackwood? He's going to prison for 25 years, she said, sliding down from Shadow's back. I testified against him last week. It's over, Marcus. Really over. Emma came running out of the house, screaming Luna's name with joy. As Marcus watched Luna sweep his daughter into a hug, he realized something had changed in his heart. The constant ache of missing Sarah was still there, but for the first time in 3 years, it didn't hurt to imagine loving someone new. So, he said when Emma finally released Luna. About that veterinarian job. Luna stepped closer, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her green eyes. I was hoping we could discuss the benefits package. Such as room and board, she said softly. And maybe a family to belong to? Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. I think we can arrange that. Emma looked between them with the wisdom only children possess. Does this mean Luna gets to be my new mom? Luna knelt down to Emma's level. Only if you want me to be. I asked Daddy every night if you were okay, Emma said seriously. I told him you were like the princesses in my books, The brave ones who save themselves and then come back to save everyone else too. Luna looked up at Marcus, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Your daughter is very wise. She gets that from her mother, Marcus said softly. I'd like to hear about her sometime, Luna said. About Sarah. If you want to tell me. And Marcus realized he did want to tell her. He wanted to share everything, his memories of Sarah, his hopes for Emma, his dreams for their farm. He wanted to share his life. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same barn where he had first found Luna, but this time he wasn't checking for storm damage. This time he was getting married. It was a small ceremony, just Emma, Luna's sister who had flown in from California, the pastor from town, and a few neighbors who had become friends. Shadow and the other horses watched from their stalls, decorated with white ribbons for the occasion. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, taking her job very seriously. When the pastor asked if anyone objected to the union, she stood up and announced, I object to waiting any longer. Can they kiss now? The laughter that filled the barn was warm and genuine. As Marcus kissed his new wife, he felt Sarah's presence like a blessing. Not the painful ache of loss he had carried for so long, but the gentle warmth of approval from someone who had loved him enough to want him to be happy again. That night, as they tucked Emma into bed in the farmhouse that was now truly a home, she looked up at them with sleepy contentment. I'm glad you found each other, she said simply. Luna squeezed Marcus's hand. Actually, sweetheart, I think we found each other. Later, as they sat on the porch watching Shadow graze peacefully in the moonlight, Marcus marveled at how much had changed. The farm was thriving again, Luna's veterinary practice was bringing in steady income, and Emma had never been happier. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't checked the barn that night? Marcus asked. Luna leaned against his shoulder. I don't wonder, she said quietly. I know. You saved my life, Marcus. You and Emma both. You gave me back my courage, showed me what real love looks like. You saved us too, Marcus replied. Emma needed a mother and I needed to remember that it's okay to love again. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the night sounds of their farm. In the distance, an owl called to its mate, and Shadow nickered softly in response to some sound only he could hear. Thank you, Luna whispered. For what? For not calling the police that night. For taking a chance on a stranger. For seeing me as more than just a victim. Marcus turned to face her, cupping her face gently in his hands. Thank you for trusting me. For fighting back. For choosing to survive. As they kissed under the starlight, Marcus knew that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the darkest moments. Sometimes healing requires two broken people to help each other become whole again. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, love finds you in a barn during a storm, bringing with it the promise of better days ahead. The town still talks about that night, how Marcus Thompson found a woman and her horse sleeping in his barn, and how his act of kindness changed everything. But they don't just talk about the romance, or even the dramatic downfall of Richard Blackwood. They talk about courage. About choosing to help a stranger even when it's dangerous. About standing up to bullies and fighting for what's right. They talk about how love multiplies when you share it, how broken hearts can heal, and how sometimes the family you choose becomes more precious than anything you could have imagined. But most of all, they talk about how 3 lost souls, a widowed father, his lonely daughter, and a woman escaping from darkness, found each other and created something beautiful from their pain. Emma Thompson Blackwood is 16 now, and she still loves fairy tales. But her favorite story isn't about princes or castles or magic spells. Her favorite story is about the night her father found her future mother sleeping in their barn, and how one act of kindness changed all their lives forever. Because that's the thing about real love stories, they don't always start with, once upon a time. Sometimes they start with, are you okay? And sometimes if you're very lucky they never really end.